In this video, we're going to be talking about Perplexity. This is one of my favorite tools and has been for a while now. I typically recommend this to everyone who is either just getting started or wants to experiment with something other than ChatGPT. It's very easy to pick up. It's intuitive. They have a ton of great features. They're always updating. The CEO is extremely active on social media. Regardless of what level you're at, this will be very simple to use if you've ever used a regular search engine. And even if you've just experimented a little bit with ChatGPT or other AIs, you'll get the hang of it right away. And you'll see a lot of similar features along with some new ones. They also incorporate a bunch of, or should I say, really most of the other main AI models within the search engine itself. This makes it highly customizable for a variety of use cases. The interface is clean. It's very well organized, and you can still use this for free. For as long as I've been recommending it, I would tell people to try the free version first. You don't need to log in. You don't need to pay anything. It's entirely free. Even when you download the app to your phone, a login window will appear. You just X out of it. Same for online. You can X right out of the login and continue using it. It's not going to have all the same features that I'm showing you here. It will have some, but not all of them. And it's not going to save things for you either if you aren't logged in. So don't write your magnum opus without logging in first. The monthly subscription for this is $20 a month for the Pro plan. If your day mostly consists of one-off type stuff where you want to ask a question to the AI or interact with it briefly, then you don't need to subscribe because it'll be able to answer your question accurately. And then you can close out of it and come back to it later when you have another question. That's just for one-offs. If you're doing heavier use, or a lot more research where you want your searches and everything to be organized, where you can find them again later or save them or publish them, then I would recommend at the very least creating an account. If your usage is high or you want to be able to use more of the features, you can get a subscription at that point. I do have a subscription for this, and I also use the API that I connect to other software applications as well. Inside of Perplexity, if I click on the open book icon at the top left, this is going to take me to the home page, same with the magnifying lens. You can type in the search bar to your right, just like you would for any regular search engine. When it comes to searching, you have 5 options for how to conduct it. The first and default mode, auto, is the fastest and should be able to select the most appropriate mode and model based on your query. It typically defaults to simpler searches and uses the more advanced models only when needed. The next, Pro Search, is going to use the model that you specified in your account settings. It's also going to have much deeper analysis and more sources. Try this and it could save you a significant amount of time. If you're on the free version and you have an account created, I believe you get 5 pro searches every 4 hours. If you have a paid account, then you get significantly more access to use it. Deep research is basically the level beyond that, the deepest level of researching that is good for complex topics. It is designed for expert level tasks. The pro search will usually give you a concise answer or informational snippets in a straightforward, organized manner. Deep research is large, structured reporting, utilizing and pulling together many more sources in a logically organized way. Because of this, it may take a few minutes longer to generate than the pro search. The nice thing is, when you're conducting deep research, a little pop-up appears and asks if you want it to give you a desktop notification when the research is done. You can always start the research, click on that icon, and then go do something else, and it'll notify you when it finishes. Deep research is something that ChatGPT came out with first, and it was very impressive, but they put it in their $200 a month plan. So when everyone else started coming out with their versions of it on their regular subscriptions, it kind of forced ChatGPT's hand. So if you have a ChatGPT account and you're using the $20 a month plan, you can access deep research there too, but it is limited. So you get a certain number per month with your subscription. So if you're using both accounts or both subs, it just gives you more deep research usage per month when you're combining the two things together. Just like the Pro Search, free users get a limited number of deep research uses per day. Pro users get a lot more, although not as much as they do for the Pro Search. Next, we have the reasoning with R1. If R1 sounds familiar, it should because this belongs to DeepSeek. DeepSeek is the Chinese company, and it's also the name of their model. It's the same Chinese-made model that disrupted the markets about 2 weeks ago that everyone was panicking about. Since it is open source and open weights, Perplexity was able to de-censor a good portion of the model, if not all of it. A lot of people had a lot of fun trying to get the original Chinese model to say negative things about the Chinese government. For this one, it just means that you can ask questions that the original model would have just shut down. The servers are also hosted here in the US because this is owned by Perplexity. The other main concern people had with DeepSeek is that if you went directly to their site, it was using Chinese servers, and anything that you enter in there is absolutely not private in terms of training, data retention, and what the data is even used for. In terms of reasoning capability, It's supposedly close to state-of-the-art models like ChatGPT's o1 and o3 Mini. Since this is a reasoning model, that means you will be able to see the chain of thought. It's visible. I believe DeepSeek was actually the first one to start this when it first came out, and everyone else has since incorporated it into theirs because it was such a great idea. ChatGPT, when they had their reasoning models, which did come out first, only said thinking. It didn't tell you exactly what the thought process was. This is one of the other really great contributions from DeepSeek. And lastly, you have o3 Mini, and the Mini here means just that it's smaller, more streamlined version of what the full o3 model will be. It is very similar to everything I just described above, except it was created by OpenAI for their ChatGPT models. This is a very recent release. I believe it was January 31st of this year. Compared to previous models, it has faster response time, fewer major errors, it's more cost efficient than the o1 Mini, and it's also optimized for math, science, and coding. o3 Mini on ChatGPT's site has o3 Mini in the dropdown and then o3 Mini High. So there are different levels of ability there. I'm not sure which model at the moment is being used by Perplexity here. When it comes to your initial prompt before you start a search, not only do you have the option to choose the mode that you're going to use, you also have the option to toggle between purely web search, research papers, or social media for your sources, or any combination of the three. I usually have all three toggled on. Discover is the AI curated stories of the day across different categories. I chose technology and science as the only ones that I want to see stories about. The other categories are finance, arts and culture, sports, and entertainment. Thankfully, there's no category for politics yet. You can toggle these categories on and off as you please in any combination. Within each of these stories, you have the ability to ask follow-up questions in the search bar at the bottom of the page. You can also toggle between the different modes to determine the depth of response that you want to receive back. Aside from uploading documents with the familiar paperclip icon, you can start your own thread from the follow-up response. A thread is basically just a brand new conversation that will then show up in your searchable library for you to easily find later on. Next, we have Spaces. Spaces is a feature that allows users to create personalized knowledge hubs for organizing research, collaborating on projects, and enhancing productivity. It enables you to group related threads, even past threads that are in your library, and upload up to 50 files of different document types. Each file can be as large as 25 megabytes each. This is a generous amount of file storage, equivalent to 1.25 gigabytes. You can also link in specific web sources directly as well. That'll be stored in memory too and added to the overall context. This tool seems to be designed primarily around collaboration, and for that purpose, you can add and invite up to 10 people to access and collaborate on each space at the same time. Each person is able to see what changes everyone else has made, and then to make and add their own. It's combining AI-driven web searches and AI models that can understand the uploaded files, providing contextualized and accurate results. This feature is particularly useful for students, researchers, content creators of all sorts, and professionals that work in teams. You can also use this as an individual too. You don't have to invite 10 people or anybody really. Library is where you're going to have your threads from any of the conversations you've had that were not done in incognito mode. When incognito mode is activated, your searches will not be saved to your library like all the regular threads. Once you ask a question inside of incognito mode, it'll take you to that incognito thread. You can stay there on that thread for 24 hours before it expires. Or if you leave sooner, it'll expire immediately and you won't be able to go back to it. Either way, it's not going to show up in your library. This doesn't mean that the conversation is not retained somehow for some period of time on Perplexity's server somewhere. So just keep that in mind. While going through your threads, you can see the date that thread was created on, or for more recently created threads, how many minutes or hours have passed since it was created. You can add a thread to one of your spaces, you can delete the thread and remove it from your library, or you can click on a thread to re-access it once again and continue the conversation from exactly where you left off. If you add a bookmark to any thread, all you have to do to find all of your bookmarks at any time is to click on any bookmark and they'll all show up in a separate page in list form. Also inside of Library, right next to Threads, you have something very cool called Pages. This is a feature that allows users to transform their search queries into well-structured, visually appealing web pages. These pages can be customized to suit different audiences. From the drop-down, you have the option to choose anyone, beginners, and experts. The first two sound very similar to me. The third one is catering to people who can understand more technical terms and use advanced concepts. You can choose one of the page examples offered by Perplexity below, and a new page will form around that topic, or you can start writing your own page up top where it says, "What's your page about?" Click on the arrow to the right, and it'll continue developing that topic from scratch. You can also edit it to a high degree by expanding on anything that's written, by highlighting it, adding, removing, or reordering sections, and even adding your own images and media. Pages makes it very easy to create custom reports, articles, guides, anything like that to streamline content creation, to share with collaborators inside of your spaces, or to publish and share with the world. One of the coolest things about this is that once you publish, this is searchable in Google. Inside of settings, there are a few different things that you might want to tweak. The first one is the AI data retention. AI data retention means that your search is going to be used to improve the models, to help training, things like that. You have the option to toggle it on or off. I personally keep mine off for pretty much everything that I use. For a subscription type, if you subscribed online, you should be able to see the details of that here. If you subscribed using your phone, using the app on your phone, then you will see something that says mobile subscription instead. To change that subscription, you would need to do it back on your phone, usually in the App Store. When it comes to the AI models that you can use in Perplexity as your default go-to model, you have really good options here. Sonar is Perplexity's fastest model. It's built off of Meta's open source Llama model. ChatGPT 4o was the latest, greatest model for ChatGPT prior to GPT 4.5 that was just released literally a day or two ago. 4.5 is not a reasoning model, and it has been getting mixed reviews so far. The expectations were extremely high for it. Just because it's not meeting those extremely high expectations doesn't mean it's necessarily bad. Claude 3.7 Sonnet is also their latest model that was just released by Anthropic. It came out very recently, just this week. It's getting great reviews. It's supposed to be very powerful in terms of thinking and coding. Grok 2 is not the latest model from xAI. That's Elon Musk's venture. Grok 3 was just released about a week or two ago. Grok 3 is very powerful. Its thinking is very impressive in some regards. I imagine it should be coming fairly soon to Perplexity. I probably would not use Grok 2 unless I wanted something that had very low moderation. Grok 3 has lower moderation probably than everything else on this list. Moderation in this case meaning less censorship and less guardrails. Guardrails and censorship are good if you are using this for enterprise, if you're using this for anything business related where clients are going to be seeing it, anything around children. Just in general, you'll want to have supervision for that anyway. Guardrails can be good, just not in every case, especially for research purposes. It's better for you to be able to ask direct questions and get direct responses where it's not censoring itself. Lastly, we've got Gemini's Flash. This is Google's latest model. It's very fast, but it's been getting very good reviews. I would say try all of these if you're not familiar. And if you don't like the response from one model, you have the option to regenerate the response from another model. So I would do that and then see if you get a better response that way. Or if you don't want to bother, you can always just leave it on auto, let Perplexity decide. And then if you like the response, you can always make a note by looking down at the little chip icon at the bottom of the output to see which model was used for that response. If there's a pattern for the responses that you like and it correlates to a specific model being used, well, then you know that you probably prefer to use this model in the future. And you can always go back into settings to make that one your default. We didn't talk about this much yet, but when you get your responses back on the right-hand side, there is an option to create images, paintings, diagrams, things like that. And you have 3 models to choose from. I don't really use this feature, and I haven't seen anyone else really use it yet. I use other things specifically for image creation. With that said, your options here are Playground version 3, DALL-E, which is what ChatGPT uses, and Flux. And out of these 3, I'd probably choose Flux as the default. Once you get to the point where you want to be able to use Perplexity inside of other software and have it talk to things, you'll be able to go to the API section here, create an API key, which is just a long alphanumeric string of letters and numbers. Every API key is distinct. And I'm going to block out the bottom half of my screen here because I don't want to have to delete this API key that I'm going to be using. Never show your API key to anyone. An API key is billed based on usage. It is not connected to your base subscription. It's not going to draw from the $20 that you are paying each month to access the service. So if you're on the $20 subscription, you can then have $1 in available credit for your API. You can have $1,000 on your API, whatever it is that you want to put on there as a credit. When you connect your API to another application, you'll be able to run Perplexity on that application or through it, and it's just going to be charging for those API calls, charging by use. The interaction is called an API call. and you're calling the model through the API key. Another underutilized feature at the moment inside of Perplexity is purchases. From what I understand, purchases lets you find items and have Perplexity purchase it on your behalf. The shipping is free. You get a confirmation code once everything is ordered and shipped out, and then the tracking number is going to be found in the app. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful and would like to dig deeper and develop more of a solid foundation that you can then build off of, I built a learning community specifically designed for beginners. No coding, no hype, no pressure. Just the basics of here's what it is, here's how to use it. You can find the link in the description below.